Barry and Rod, you will be a Scottish person speaking with an English accent next, Marty. You will be a Scottish person speaking with an English accent next.
Okay, the new
Mark from Waterford will be have nothing on you.
Justin. I was in the Royal Mile today, right? You know the way I said I wasn't buying any more whiskey. Well, obviously just consumable, drinkable stuff, right? This is an Islay, a blended malt Scotch from Islay, non-age statement. This was £35 a bottle.
Wow,
it's superb stuff, and I mean, it's just quality stuff. Fantastic, for the money. So if anybody wants to, anybody peanut fan, get yourself a bottle of this. You'll like it. I promise you, you'll like it because it's peanut, nice heavy peanut, lovely delivery, just a lovely delivery. Anyway, we've got a guest already on. We've got a guest already here. Stephen Alexander. I'm not going into too much about him now, but I promise you, this is a name you'll hear an awful lot more about in the very near future. I promise you on this. Yeah, big things coming from this guy. Stephen, how are you?
Very good, very good. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, we're going to do the news first, and then we're going to come back to you, and all will be revealed. There'll be people Googling. People will Google. This is what they do. Well, people do this. They Google to find out what.
It says it in the title below you. If you read the title below you, you know where he's from. Let's say it's an even luckier number in China than 8.
All right.
It's 9.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say some Chinese with a Ballymena accent. Okay. Ni hao, Stephen.
Very good, very good. How?
Very good. Stay there for us. We'll be back with you.
We'll be back with you very shortly, buddy.
15 or 20 minutes. So
we're going to do the news. Oh, by the way, I'm in Edinburgh again. Surprise, surprise. I'm at a hotel in Edinburgh. Yeah.
I'm going to wonderful stuff.
Brilliant. Now, Justin, I'm in Scotland. You're working away. Meanwhile, down in Dublin, everybody's getting pissed as farts at Whisky Live, and we're not there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, work does mean we can't get down.
Look at that queue. I could be rolling around the floor of a hotel and stealing drink from another hotel on the way home at night. But look at that there. And it's even red, white, and blue. Whisky Live. It's even red, white, and blue. They're trying to get back for the Jubilee, for the green, white, and gold up on the Jubilee.
Aye, for the Northern Ireland team representing his tricolour. God, you couldn't make it up. Anyway, no, so the Whisky Live. I'm surprised that some of our fans are here because most of them I would have thought would have been absolutely paralytic by now. Right. That's normally what happens at these. Now, Whisky Live was yesterday and today in Dublin, and there was loads and loads of stands and lots of stuff being released and lots of stuff being new stuff. And I mean that's the first list of guys.
That's 50 exhibitors there easily. It is 52.
It's 52. That's only the first page.
Right.
There's the other page as well.
All right.
So there is.
Can't find the other page, so hard luck. Don't get a mention.
Oh, well, see, number 1, our friends Radham Estate, number 1 stand. Yep, David and Fiona right up at the top there.
They are, yeah.
Right beside Beam Suntory. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'd love to be there. Fortunately, just not going to happen. Right. Not going to happen because unfortunately I am working, and after the last couple of years, work takes precedence.
There's a lot of other people there, like Teeling was there as well. Teeling was there. It looks like they've put a lot of effort into these stands. These are pretty impressive stands, these sort of things. Look at that there.
Well, let's be fair. Teeling's a pretty impressive distillery and stuff that they, certainly in terms of design, I mean, Teeling knock it out of the park in terms of design. Their bottles are beautiful. The Phoenix they put on it are beautiful, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so good on them. Hope everybody that was there enjoyed themselves. I really wish I could have been there, but work.
Dunsrells was there. I mean, we had a great night with them in the Dark Horse. Crawley Distillery, who we talked to, were there as well. I mean, let's face it, you just can't get much better than this, But it's who's who of everybody we have interviewed over the past 2 years in this show. That's basically what it is. Grace O'Malley, was there. Unbelievable.
I'm just seeing John Redmond said, he said, I paid 10 euro for a 10 milliliter shot of Glenkinchie, 30-year-old, and I wish I could remember what it tasted like. That's unfortunately that is the problem with these whiskey shows. You go and you try about 50 little nips of stuff, and well, they're very nice. Very nice. Probably they're lovely, but who knows? You always end up with
you can't remember which one. Well, the one I can remember that I did try and I did like was the Kennedy Castle Dapper Gentleman.
Dapper Blend.
Dapper Blend. It was sensational.
You loved that.
I did love it. It's one I would buy. And I mean, it's the who's who. There's the Shed. I think I tried to get the Shed on 2 years ago and still haven't managed it. Tell me this: was Ballykeith there? Did Ballykeith manage to go?
I don't think so. I don't.
Do they even exist? Are they real?
You mean the secret distillery?
Yes, the Shadow Distillery.
I think I emailed him again a couple of weeks ago. Still no joy. Just do it now.
I did that with the Withensea Ladies Organ Society when I run the radio station in England. They would never come on for me. I've noticed they finally come on 15 years later for my the organisation that took over after me. So there you go. Couldn't believe it. There you go.
There's the Ladies Society.
Oh no, they're big hitters in organs. They're big in organs.
Ooh.
They are. They were in Britain's Got Talent with organs.
All right.
They actually invited me to events and all, but they would never come on the show. Never come on the show at all.
We all know you love a big organ. Anyway.
Dapper is the best, says William. You're absolutely right, William. Where are you in the camper van this weather? Let me see. Jarlath is on this evening. Jarlath,
there's no way Jarlath Watson's human. No way humanly possible he's sober. There's no way.
Jarlath is probably doing a bit of industrial espionage tonight, watching this Stephen Alexander guy.
Aye. Oh, Jarlath will be clued up. He'll know what this is. Stephen's all about. But yeah, there's no way Jarlath's sober. If he's sober, I'll be very, very disappointed in you, buddy.
Here's a guy we're missing meeting up with, actually.
Who?
Sergius. We're missing meeting up with him. We'd like to have a yarn with him.
I'm sure everybody loves having a chat with Sergius. He's just lovely, lovely man. Utterly devoted to doing his whiskey stuff. Yeah. So I hope he done well today. I hope he done really well today because he deserves to. He deserves to.
He does indeed. No,
nice guy. Now, the next big story this week.
I spotted something.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah. The new release, everybody's going to be losing their absolute bits about this. Gold Spot, 9-year-old, pot still. Bourbon cask finished, bourbon finish, sherry finish, Bordeaux wine cask, and port finish. Blend it up. Now, I haven't tried it.
Wow.
But Billy Layton is excited about it. And Billy, anybody who's met Billy, he's one of the nicest guys in the world. This is one of his creations. So, yeah, I would imagine it's probably pretty damn tasty. I do have to try and get my hands on it. It was okay. Connor's only saying it was okay. Controversial, Connor. My favourite of the Spot range is Yellow Spot. Don't really make much.
I think it's one of your most watched reviews on the YouTube channel. Remember, we're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and Telegram, Instagram. Wherever you get your podcast from, ask it to play Irish Whiskey Review if it's a smart speaker, or you can just Google it or Apple Podcast it. But yes,
I was the one where we done the Blue Spot, or done a few of them.
You did a few of them, but I still think Yellow Spot's my favourite. Personal choice, obviously, but yeah. But he was saying he's disappointed. I mean, at Connor Winders, I tried the Gold Spot last night. It was okay. Connor Winders, I think he knows the stuff. Connor Winders,
he does.
He's not winding us up.
Here all week, folks. No, but like I everybody knows their own personal preference, and if you like something, you like something. If you don't, you don't. That's it. But if you're saying he thought it was okay, I'd like you to try it. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Frank Hearn is saying, evening, ladies and gentlemen. His pour tonight is a dark shot. His short cross is finished, so he's looking forward to trying the Pochi. Oh, very good. Yeah, very good.
Oh, no, me and you both tried the Pochi.
We have.
Very nice it was. Very nice it was.
We have. And then Par's 9-year-old for 165 tonight. Where was that? Actually, I must tell Stephen Alexander, they had Gold Spot. Oh no, sorry, they had not Gold Spot. Was it Gold Spot? It was in Bray Super Value. It was in Bray Super Value. They had something 200 quid.
Oh, right, dead on. So there's something in Bray Super Value at one point that was worth 200.
What's that one everybody collects, but you think the bubble's going to burst?
Middleton.
Yes. No, it was Middleton. It was a Middleton 2022 for 200 quid in Super Value Bray. Thanks for that. Somebody mysteriously spoke in my ear there, and I got the answer. Good. Thank you.
That was me spoke in your ear.
No, somebody else did that. Somebody else did that. There you go. There you go. Super Value Bun Clody. Maybe it was you that posted, Seamus. Maybe it was you. Right. We better hurry up. It's 12 minutes past. 12 minutes
Stephen on here. Now, next up, why did you just cut my head off there? Now, one of our favourite distilleries, friend of the show. No, jumped the gun, you see. Jumped the gun, went the wrong story. We'll go with this one. We'll go with this one first. We'll go with this. All right. We'll go with that one first. Pull up that last picture. There we go. The Isla Hotel in Port Ellen is up for sale. Now, this is obviously in a perfect location for whiskey lovers. Port Ellen, 13 ensuite bedrooms, potential to open up another 8 bedrooms. Whiskey, spiritual capital of Scotch whiskey in Isla.
We had the venison one in there the last time. It was delicious.
It was delicious. £2.5 million, which to me, don't get me wrong, that's quite a lot of money. But the sheer potential for it is just incredible. You know, yeah. If I had your money just now, I would buy that.
If I knew a certain person that lived in the Dargle Glen that could afford to buy that and sort of logo it up like with the number 9 out the front of it or something like that, that would really rub it in the nose of Isla. You know, it would. But
like I said, I mean, iconic hotel on Isla whiskies. It'd be interesting to see because Isla, I've just finishing a tour. And 2 of the people on it.
Beautiful hotel. It looks like it's been done up since we've been there.
Yeah, it's just recently been done. Done a couple of years ago. 2 of the people I've been touring about, they're going to go to Isla after this. They're flying from Glasgow to Isla, and they're going to have a couple of days over there. So yeah, up for sale. Up for sale. But now can we go to the story that we actually meant to go to, but without you ballsing it up again? I
don't balls it up. You just don't know to keep talking. But anyway, what's next?
I was preempting the thing. The next one is one of our favourite distilleries. Let's just say one of our favourite distilleries is looking a few £. So if you have a few quid and you want to throw some money to James, have you got it, Justin?
I have got it. Yes,
that's okay.
There you go.
There we go. Pull it up. Sleeve League are looking investors. And you can invest in it from €50 all the way up. They're looking €2 million. Okay.
Here's a great idea. Frank Hearn says, why don't we do a crowdfunding on Irish Whiskey Review and buy it? And then I can run off with the money and leave you in the lurch.
Justin, you know I could get you tracked down. You know I could get you.
I know. You could. I know. That person that used to work at Walsh's Whiskey in Ballymena would turn up with his private jet and say, "I do know who you are. I do know where you live.
Yep,
I do find you.
I've got a certain skill set. I'm going to kick your head in."
I know.
So James is looking crowdfunding again after the last crowdfunding they done where he just blew it out of the water. Why would he not? And what he's wanting to do with this, he's wanting to increase the capacity from 440,000 LPA up to 600,000 LPA litres of pure alcohol. We'll talk about that again later on. So he's wanting to increase the capacity in the 2 million. That's where it's going to go. He hasn't. It's only register of interest now, so you can get onto it and register interest, and then the benefits will all come out. So if you want to invest 200 or 2,000 or 20,000 or 100,000, it's tell you what you get for your money later on. So we all love Sleeve League.
What's he going to do? Open up a third unit down there somewhere?
No, I imagine. No, he's not going to open a third unit. I imagine they probably increase still capacity.
Because he did have room for more, didn't he? I think he did, didn't he?
It's nice bit of room out the back. I don't know. You need to get. He's only looking for it at the minute. Now I saw him earlier on. He's in London, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, he'll get it easy. Anybody who knows about whiskey, anybody who knows about Irish whiskey, we're all big fans of Sleeve League. And James and Moira, good on them.
There you go.
Best of luck.
There's William McLaren hoping to get over to Geordie Burke and Prince Edward Island to go to the Spirit Festival in November. I mean, let's face it, when the gang came over, Bill Franks came over from Canada, we weren't here, and we had to send him a Dear John letter, which I felt really bad about. But
so did I.
Bill,
I do apologise.
Couldn't be helped. One of those things.
I'm sort of working back to back.
One of those things.
No spare time at all at the minute. Very little. Very little.
So, what else have we got?
Nothing.
All right.
We rehearsed this before. I know it's a very quick rehearsal, Justin, but
I know.
What's that you're drinking tonight, Justin?
It's chocolate milk.
This is a whiskey show, and you're sitting drinking liquid ice cream. Essentially,
it's not. It's fake Baileys. It's fake Baileys. I have to say it's fake Baileys because it comes from a friend of a friend who lives nearby Glengormley.
Copyright.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, right. So, guys, that's the news. I've been a bit behind this week because I've been busy. I've been running about. I've been lots of stuff on this week. But I've been keeping track on this guy because this is a project with a big Irish connection that everybody's going to hear about in the night going forward. Stephen Alexander. Hello.
Good evening, everybody. How are we doing?
Not too bad. Everybody is well, I think.
Is this about the golf? Is this about the golf, this show now? Is that Graham O'Dole on the line? Who's that on the line?
Right. Stephen, you're going to have to give us a bit of background on yourself before we go into what the big project is. You're a Dublin boy.
Sure am.
Who has found himself all over the world.
That's right.
Now,
so
what's your background and what have you done before your big project? Tell us about before your big project.
Early 2000s, started out actually as an electronic engineer. That's my my initial background, and the dream has always been to fly. Actually, so commercial aviation, getting up into large airliners was always the dream, and essentially became an engineer. Was working for a couple of large multinationals here in Dublin, and when I had enough money in the pocket to go and learn how to fly, off to the States I went, and I was there for 3 years. Trained up, and while I was there, there's a huge amount of exams along the aviation
I can imagine.
line. It can be quite busy, but one of the big things coming from home, I never probably hadn't much exposure in the way to whiskey until I actually went to the States. And throughout all of our training and everything else, the two guys I lived with were fairly significant bourbon heads, both Kentucky guys, and introduced me to stuff that I've never seen before. A whole new world opened up, brands I'd never heard of before. And essentially, that's where my love of whiskey actually started. And from there, I was there for 3 years, but probably over the last 15 to 20 years, I haven't really, probably 18 months maybe spent in Ireland over that time, and came back from the US. I was living in Spain and France and Italy, Poland, and then from Poland out to China. So it's been a long road, let's say, to take us there.
So basically, you've done it all over the world and find yourself in China.
That's right.
Now, for a guy from Dublin to end up in China, must be a big culture shock. Must be a big culture shock.
Huge, and I think there's not much that can prepare you for that.
I wouldn't have thought so.
You kind of you go out there with some things in your mind, and you talk to people before you obviously go to get an idea of what things are going to be like. And when you get there, it doesn't matter what people tell you. It's all new. It's all new. It's almost every day. Everything you do is almost a brand new experience.
Yeah.
And that's
it. I mean, I think the Far East's probably about as alien to people from sort of certainly Western Europe, the US, as you can probably get, in terms of language and culture and diet and climate and everything, basically everything, I assume.
Yeah, it's great from top to bottom. I mean, there's parts of China that we could fly from. It takes you 7.5 hours to fly to the other side of the country. Even on map, it doesn't actually do it justice in terms of how big it is. I lived in Shenzhen, right on the Hong Kong border. The vast majority of the year is 30 degrees plus. And during that day, I could fly 5 hours north and it could be minus 30. So the variation on everything from culture, from city to city, temperature, climate, everything was literally every city almost has a brand new culture. So it's an incredible place in terms of a variety of, life, let's say.
Very life. Now, basically, the big spirit drink in China is Baijiu. It's like rice wine. And I have a couple of bottles of those, and there's like 8 different varieties depending on how it's distilled and fermented and all this kind of stuff. It's a very complicated spirit.
It is, but it's generally flavored to local taste also. So when you go from city to city, you won't get the same thing. Or it might look like the same thing, but they've made delicate changes to it to bring in the local custom. But I'll leave you with those 8 bottles. I'm not a fan. It isn't really for me.
I've got a bottle in the house which is I really quite like, because it's very umami. It's very sort of savory and flavor. I quite like that. But you have, well, reading a bit of your biography, your background, you weren't a big whiskey guy until you kind of thought whiskey was an old man's, your granddad's drink. Is it? I mean, growing up, that's pretty much everybody kind of thought it's an old guy's drink, and they sit and have whenever you were young, or forever I was young, was somebody sitting having a cigarette and a half and a whiskey,
Yeah, absolutely. But it was the States. When I got to the States initially, that was the eye opener. Yeah. And I think if you go back to the 80s, 70s into the 80s, there wasn't a huge amount on the market at home. There were a lot of distilleries now that are thankfully revived, doing great. It's fantastic to see. But when you go back to that time, a lot of distilleries had died off. You had some basic stuff, but I don't want to say there was a lack of effort on behalf of the distilleries.
I think there was a lack of effort. There was a lack of interest. There was a lack of loads of stuff.
Yeah, but the variety, there wasn't a whole lot available. And it wasn't something, we're in a very, very different time in terms of the commercial marketing, the visibility of whiskey. And I think probably in a different place in terms of our acceptance of what whiskey can be.
Yeah.
The flexibility of the casks, the different types of finishes. There was a lot of, let's say, old mentality, strict rule set that, no, you can't do that. That's not within our realm of what we expect Scotch or Irish whiskey to be, so you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Now there's a huge amount of freedom for all the distilleries. Go have a crack at it. See if it works. Maybe you get something. Maybe it's a horse chestnut cask. Maybe it's I know companies who are doing it.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Give it a try. give it a try. And I think we're in an age now of exploration of whiskey, and everything is acceptable as long as the quality comes out right. So
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's why I'm talking about stuff like this, because the quality of it's superb, really good quality stuff for a very, very cheap price. Now, getting back onto the project that we're going to talk about in a little minute, because I haven't actually named the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's on screen. I've spoiled it.
Yeah, I know, because I kept thinking to myself, he's not listening to me here. But anyway, you never listen to me anyway. But anyway, we'll go on. So you've found yourself in China. You've had a bit of an education in whiskey in the US. You find yourself in China, and well, you've decided to build a distillery, which start a project where at the end of it, you'll have the biggest whiskey distillery in the world. That's a side. We went from not knowing a big lot to stratospheric very quick here, very quick.
Yeah. Look,
it's an amazing story.
It's a strange story, to be honest, because it sort of feels like a story that you randomly kind of end up in, and then all of a sudden things happen and you don't know how you got there. So for me, moving to China, as I said, the culture can be a little bit. The language is difficult. It takes a long time to actually get in and really understand the little nuances of it. So look, I've lived in many, many different cities, and to be honest with you, you kind of sort of go after what you know. Local language or English, anybody who speaks English, it's a football club, it's, something. You get involved in something that other people maybe from home would like. And there was a huge whiskey presence actually in Shenzhen, a lot of whiskey clubs knocking around, a lot of foreign guys who run whiskey nights. Yeah. And that was my go-to. It was a good way to meet other guys. It was a good way to do what you love, go and have a dram, have a bit of crack with the guys and talk about whiskey. But every time we went, and maybe this is a question I can pose to you, because when I think about all of the distilleries that are opening all over the world, whether it be from the Scandinavian countries now who are using glacial water for the distilleries, or German distilleries, or French or Mexican, whatever it is, can you tell me about the Chinese?
No, I mean, you just can't.
Yeah, and that was the problem. I mean, you might have 30, 40, 50 bottles of Scotch, Irish bourbons, everything from all over the world, even Italian whiskey, and there was a huge selection of anything you could get. And the question always came back to, why is there nothing here? There's nothing. So we tried to understand the market a little bit, and, obviously what the local products would be, spirits. So if you look at the overall spirits market in China, it's about 4 billion bottles a year market, which is huge. However, if you look at what it's made up of, 3.9 billion of that is local spirits, Baijiu, and local rice wines. So even though 100 million bottles sounds like a huge amount of Western spirits in China, if you look at the UK, for example, pre-pandemic, they went through 100 liters or 100 million bottles of vodka alone in 2019. So it seems like a huge amount, but on the other side of it, it's not a huge amount compared to the market that's available.
No.
And what we're seeing now is, of that 100 million, there's about probably 35 to 40 million of it is actual whiskey. And that's across all, whether it's Scotch or whatever, bourbons and that sort of thing. Predominantly probably into the early 2000s, even late 90s, it was, in terms of foreign spirit brands, it was brandy and cognacs, because they were seen as rich brands.
Yeah.
Prominent brands. But they've essentially taken a huge nosedive now, and they're being left behind. There's a younger generation coming through, and malt whiskey is where it's at. There's a huge explosion with it. So when we looked at everything that they do at home, if you take anything that you have, even that bottle that you have on the table, and you say, okay, look, production cost is X, we'll manufacture it here, and we can sell it for 35 pounds or something, as you said, 35 to 40 pounds. If you take that then and try and export it to China, your transport costs in the last couple of years gone up 4 or 5-fold. Ship it to China, you arrive, taxes, import duties, transport within. The cost to the general consumer in China is almost double to triple the price that you would get in Europe, even for entry level standard bottles.
Yeah,
You know,
like
a basic Jameson, a basic, you know, Bushmills Black or some Black Bush or something like that could be 40 to 50 pounds in China. So for the general public, they're price prohibitive.
Yeah.
You know, you really are looking at I don't want to say middle class, but there's a level of finance that allows you to purchase.
It's not the everyday whiskey, basically, you're selling then.
No.
Basically, what you're selling is sort of what we would consider everyday whiskies, you know, stuff that you just buy to have about, or a premium where they're a level beyond what they would be here.
Yeah, and I think if you look at that, it's probably a different conversation where you start looking at price point and quality, because you can buy fantastic whiskies here in Ireland or in Scotland or anywhere else for £20.
Yeah,
you know, if in terms of, you know, price per bottle and what you're getting, you can get fantastic stuff that will be just as good as €100 to €200 bottle, and it really, really is. So when we look at stuff in terms of our market, the market is there. It's already there. It's about 450 million euros a year market just for whiskey alone. So it's significant. So the market already exists. So for us, when we initially looked at this, is it commercially viable as a business? And you've got 20 guys sitting around a table who are like, yeah, we can actually do this. We can do this. And the people that were involved, it sounds silly, but you kind of find yourself in the right place at the right time. Some of these guys were, you know, our CEO, who's part of this group and actually ran these whiskey nights, is the largest importer of spirits in China. One of the other directors of the company, Jonathan, just happens to be there, loves his whiskey, is also the largest wine importer in China. Also part of the French Chamber of Commerce. We've got guys in the US Chamber of Commerce. We've got guys in the Danish Chamber of Commerce. And all of a sudden, you end up with a group of people who are exceptionally well connected, exceptionally well into the business world already, and the largest suppliers of alcohol already in China. So they already have independent customers of 30,000 people or more. So you sort of, again, find yourself in a position where maybe you feel a little lucky to be part of a group that is sitting down going, we can really do this. We can really do it.
Yeah.
So we touched base with the local governments. We had a chat just to see if they'd be interested in supporting the project, or, you know, at least giving us permission to go ahead. They absolutely love the project. So when we worked out that, you know, look, we're going to do this, and we'll start off with, to be honest, and we'll get into it probably a little bit later in terms of the scale of where we're going. But we'd initially started off with something fairly small, probably in the region of about 1,000 to 2,000 square meters. You know, we'll start small, we'll build up, you know, like some of the Irish distilleries that have set up over the last couple of years, smaller outputs, maybe again, 300 to 400,000 LPA a year sort of stuff. And when we went to the government said, no, this is a really good project. We really like it. And we're going to designate you as a VIP project. So they actually took us around, showed us all the different sites, everything that we needed, and we ended up on a site. So we went from something where, you know, we had a fairly small site to a 17,200 square meter site. So it's very, very significant now.
Yeah.
And the government there have actually allowed us to dream big and go big with it. So essentially it started as 20 guys sitting around a table wondering whether we could do something. We explored it, put some money on the table and said, give it a shot. And all of a sudden, it wasn't just 20 people. It was everybody started to put money down, and it was, oh, I heard there's this distillery going on. Can we get involved? Can we put some money down? So, you know, I think our first 4 raises for the project, we'd initially set out a bracket. So we're quite careful about the money that we take and the people that we take.
Yeah.
Overall, this project is about people. It's about the people around us that have a passion for what they do, a passion for what they're drinking, and want to make quality. You can get guys coming in who knock on the door and say, I want to make an investment, you know, I'm a fund banker, you know, I just want to make money.
Yeah.
We don't need your money. Honestly, we don't need your money. I would prefer to get a guy coming in for €1,000 who is passionate about whiskey than a guy for £1 million who just wants to put numbers on the bank account.
Yeah.
So,
now, whenever you start talking about potential markets,
yes,
I've talked umpteen times about potential markets in India. China's on another level again, of what potential there is there for spirits and for whiskey. You were talking there about sort of 300,000 LPA, so on and so forth. I mean, that's in China. I can imagine whenever you were talking to some of the Chinese government officials, they were probably looking at you as if, what's the point of even turning on the tap?
Yeah, it's a little bit. But I think what they liked was our approach. This wasn't just a case of, listen, we got a couple of guys who are willing to put 30 million quid on the table and set up a distillery. This was, at the time anyway, started off with 20 guys. After about 2 years, we had 140. We're 4.5 years down the line, and we have 240 investors from 22 countries.
Yeah.
So they like the idea of, this is for whiskey people by whiskey people.
Yeah.
And that's what we're really looking for. I mean, we have had significant multinationals knocking on the door, asking to buy the entire project out for very, very vast sums.
I can imagine.
That happened to somebody we know, but anyway, yeah.
Now, whereabouts in China? I mean, China's a vast country. I think people sometimes don't appreciate it. I mean, you've touched on how vast a country it is. And where in China are you? Where?
So we're going to be based in Foshan. So if you think of Taiwan, go 500k west to mainland China. That's us. And essentially, where we've picked it is it's a very, very significant area where we got our name. Nine Rivers Distillery. There's 9 fairly significant rivers that run down from the top of the mountains. So we took it from local geographic, and we'll be using that water for our distillery as well.
Yeah.
But the area around us, it's all national park. So one of the other big things in terms of, and you'll notice from tourism, but we don't do tourism like the Chinese do. It's a very, very different way. So if you look at cities in Paris or anything else, you don't generally see 1 or 2 Chinese guys showing up to go and take a walk around, even in Ireland, a whiskey distillery. It's always a coach, always 2 coaches, 3 coaches.
It's always lots of people.
It is. And that's exactly the same thing in China.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing. They do huge tourism. So the parks around our distillery, it's not unusual over the course of a weekend to have 100,000 people show up and have 5-mile tailbacks down the road. So let's say when you're planning out a distillery as well, most new distilleries are probably looking at footfall of about 40 people a day. Our problem is actually on the other end of the spectrum, where you've got, a couple of thousand people, and can we cater for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you talk about headcount or in terms of China, I mean, it's just, I always think about the Kodak. For anybody who's not as old as I am, Kodak used to be a photography. They used to have film, and they always thought if they could crack China, if every person in China took 1 photograph a week, they would like quintuple their profits. There's just the sheer volume of it. The population's an incredible population.
Yeah.
But yeah, now in terms of the site you say is in a national park.
Yes.
The location of it, the national park is, there's not an awful lot of infrastructure around where you're going to be building this.
No, so there's a new park, essentially, a business park, let's say, that's being opened up in this area. So other international projects like ours will also be opening up in this business park.
Okay.
And I think it's essentially everything that we need will be set out onto the site. Whatever we want, it'll be available.
One of our regulars, Stephen, is asking, is Minjiang River. He must have been there.
No, it's not. We're up in the high elevation, so the river is actually below us. Our elevation is about 550 meters up, and specifically chosen for that climate and that all year round temperature. So that would be a little bit lower. So let me see. You've got a map up there. So if you go to the far right of your picture, there's a place there, Xiamen, and it's Xiamen, and it'll be quite close to that.
Yep.
Yeah, we're getting there now. So we would just be a little bit Hang on. So if you come down, I think we're just a little bit south of that location. I think if you're on Google there, if you Google Nine Rivers Distillery, I'm pretty sure
Does it come
we'll
up?
come up
Oh,
there.
I didn't try that. Never thought.
Yeah.
Never thought.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's Canada. That's Montana, and that's Nigeria. So it's none of them.
Yeah.
So we'll try it with the number 9, shall I? Hold on.
That's
No, that's the wrong one.
No.
Wrong
Yeah. No. Well, I'll tell you what. We're in there anyway. We're there.
Okay.
Thereabouts. We're there. Thereabouts. So.
now you've broke ground already, haven't you? You broke
Yes,
ground
we have.
already.
Yes,
You
we
broke
have.
ground
So,
already. So what stage are you at?
we broke ground and we are at a point where the foundations are dug, but we haven't been able to actually get anybody in due to the COVID situation there at the moment. So things have been a little bit slow on that front, but we're looking at, if we didn't have the delays, we were looking at Q1 March, probably 2023, but I'd say probably realistically now looking at early June to be in full production. That's where we're at. That's where we're at.
Unfortunately, COVID's had that effect on lots and lots and lots of stuff.
Look, it's out of our control. It's not something that,
exactly.
Yeah, we're in a position though that we should be able to ramp things up. I mean, there are, in terms of the crews that you can come in, the location that we're in, there's no curfew. So you can build on 3-4 crews a night and have that going 24 hours a day to get it to completion. So, worst comes to worst, we can up the time frame on that. So
now, the interesting thing, there's a few enormously interesting things about this whole project. One, the location. 2, the potential. Seamus always want to know if there's any jobs going.
We'll keep an eye out for you.
Now, I know you can't. We've talked a little bit about this before we come on, but your stills.
Yes.
You have put in a patent for your still design.
That's correct.
For a lot of people watching the show, or people who are just newly watching the show, think that every still's different. Every still's got a longer neck, or an onion ball, a bulbous bit, and then this and blah blah blah. But yours is going to be a totally new type of still for which you've got a patent. As far as we know, we talked about this. You're the only guy who's going to have you're the only distillery in the world that's going to have a patent for your own still.
That's correct.
This is even better than the 3-chambered one, Marty.
Well, the three-chambered still is a recreation of something that was fairly common years ago. It went out of fashion, but this is a totally different thing. Now I know you can't talk an awful lot about this, but fill us in. Throw us a bone here, Stephen. Give us something.
Well, one thing I would say to you in terms of the project is everybody who's involved, we're an active investment project. So everybody who's in financially is in. So what we'll do is we'll look at their skill sets and we'll divvy them up into the departments that we feel that could be functionally used. So for example, we have journalists and editors. They take care of our social media, any articles. We have engineers, they're designing our floor space. We have product designers. They design the bottles that you've got on the screen there and the boxes and everything else. All done in-house, all done free of charge. So we don't have any overhead. So everything that comes in terms of your investment goes into the investment, the project, the bottles, whatever else. So everything that we do free of charge. So when we looked at the stills, we have high-level product engineers, automotive engineers. We have one physicist, one mathematician, a couple of scientists, high-level designers, and we put them all together to actually come up with something. So what we did was we looked at pot stills, column stills, and the functionality of them, how they work, why they don't work in certain areas. And essentially we put sensors everywhere, inside, outside, everything. Where were our temperature spots? Where were we not getting the reflux that we should be getting it? And we broke the still down into components. And those components that worked, we keep. Those components that we don't work, we force them to work harder. And we use full electronic control, full independent monitoring systems for every section, every part of the still. We move the shapes, bow in certain areas. move out certain areas, increase height where we need to, increase width where we need to make it work to the best capacity it can possibly work to. And essentially, when we put this down on paper, we realized that actually nobody's actually ever done this before. A lot of people, and to most of your listeners there, brand new distillery startup, they'll go to Foresights, which is who's actually supplying our stills, and they were really happy to work with what exactly we had come up with. But generally, somebody will go in and they'll start off with a small pot still or something, 2,000 liters, something like that. We didn't go with that. We went with our own brand new still, and we said, we want you to make that. And they were happy to do it. They understood what we were doing. We went through all the engineering specs of it and why we are doing what we're doing.
It's incredible.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. So,
that's incredible that you guys, I mean, to be fair, your background is a pilot, and you've presented to Foresights. This is what we want as a start.
I'm going to say something here, and I don't want you to take offense, Stephen. When you rely on computer modeling, we all know what happens to certain aircraft when they relied on computer modeling. Have you, sometimes you do a scale model or, a half-size model, and then when you put it into the full-size model, something else changes that you've never taken account of before.
Sure.
I mean, is it just going to work? You're bound to have teething troubles with something that's that innovative.
There will. Look, I think all in all, you can't expect to do new things and not see problems. But I think from us, we don't really see anything as a problem. We just see it as a step that we need to get around or get above or get under or over. There will be a fix, and there will be a way for us to deal with it and manage it and make it work. So I suppose it depends on what you want to call it. If it's a problem, it seems like it's bigger than it is. If it's a task that needs completion, then it's something that's achievable and we can do it. So look, you put stuff like this out, you're guaranteed to have teething problems, but our still setup will be 2 30,000 liter, 4 15,000 liter, and 4 5,500 liter stills. So even if we have 1 or 2 teething issues on the designs of the new stuff, we still have output, and it shouldn't, that output even with 1 or 2 teething problems shouldn't be less than 1 million LPA. So no matter what off the first year, we're covered.
Yeah, the fact that you've went to Foresights and they've took it on board is pretty impressive. Really impressive. Now, phase 1. What's your capacity? What's your output going to be in phase 1?
1.31 million
1.31 million LPA. In
So
terms of in a comparison,
bigger than Glengoyne, Arran, Ardbeg, Scapa, any of these. And again, when we look at this stuff, it's legacy, history in terms of the companies that are there.
Yeah.
And we appreciate what they do. Great output, great quality. But we feel that we can do great quality and achieve on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what we're looking to do. After year 2, 7 million LPA. We're hoping to top out after year 5 at 15 million LPA.
No, 15 million LPA. No.
Yeah. Now that's after 5. We have 4 more sites identified. So, and essentially what we'll be doing with those is micro distilling. So using them, encapsulating in certain areas around where we are. So we've taken in Shanghai, Guangzhou, Hong Kong, all of these areas, and those 4 sites are micro distilling sites. We're not using them so much as they will produce an output, but they're going to be tourism sites. So we'll be able to sell our product. People will be able to come in, see the full process of what happens, how whiskey happens, and take it. So essentially we have chosen 4 sites that encapsulate an area of about 235 million people. And essentially we're trying to, let's say, corner off a bit of a market with a large population that will bring in whiskey lovers, bring in people who are maybe don't have that exposure and now are able to come into whiskey distillery and see how it works.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of China. It's only 250 million people, 250 million people.
That's,
it's like,
15%.
It's incredible. I mean, when you talk just the scale of the thing, just incredible. I mean, people possibly don't understand how 15 million LPA. I mean, it's just an incredible number. Incredible number.
It's very, very significant. And those are the areas that we're very sure we will achieve it. It's not something that we've just set a target. We know that's what will happen. We know in terms of the output and the equipment that we have, we know we can do it. It's not a case of, we're really striving to hit those targets. We know that will happen. We know the machines and what we have will do it.
Trevor Watson has had a thing. What a whiskey story!
It's a whiskey, massive.
Because this mightn't have the hundreds of years behind it, but it certainly has the masses of amount of scale and innovation behind it. What are people going to say about this in 50 or 100 years' time, Marty?
Well, that's not even that, Justin. It's having the vision or the confidence of everybody just to sort of. I mean, 9 rivers. It's sort of flowing along on the back of 9 people or 20 people, ambition and thought, where you can go from having a concept to have the biggest distillery in the world in a relatively short period of time. I mean, what's the timescale for phase 4?
Phase 4, which is our, let me see. So we're up to phase 3, which takes us to full completion, essentially internal fit out and external building fit out done. And that will be June, July. Yeah, Q2 into Q3 because of COVID, but Q2, Q3, let's say next year. And then Q4 takes us through our first 3 years of production. Okay. So where we've looked at by the time we hit, we've hit the 2, probably after 1 year of full production, I think, we're fairly significant. I mean, very, very significant.
I mean, imagine building Johnny Walker as a brand in 3 years. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. And
this wouldn't be possible though without people that love whiskey. And I'll be very, very straight with you because there are many, many companies and many new distilleries in Ireland that are popping up all over the place because people feel it's a good business opportunity. Now, there is a commercial aspect to what we're doing, but this is born out of guys sitting around talking about whiskey who love whiskey. And are driving that through because the overall target for us is to make quality whiskey, award-winning whiskey. That is the ultimate goal.
Yeah. And we'll put it like this, Bono's buying into a distillery. I don't think Bono drinks a lot of whiskey, if I'm totally honest. I think his niece probably has much more input in the Irish whiskey market than he probably will. He's stumped up some cash. And good on him. Fair play. I hope he had a nice wee time to himself. But
now, I'm going to say something here, and again, you're a massive new entrant into the market, Stephen, and there is a lot of other people that are, whiskey heads in China that might have friends of friends who are big money men. Somebody could go and copy you, and then you might find that although it's a burgeoning market in China, it might end up flooded with whiskey. That's a potential because people have already approached you to buy it, haven't they?
Yes, they have. And we've had significant offers even from early on. But as I said already, we're more interested in people who love whiskey rather than big money guys. We've had guys knocking the door offering very, very significant amounts to invest in the company, to purchase, joint venture, all of the above. It has to be the right money. And that's really what it comes down to. Now, to be fair, we're very, very lucky that every stage that we've set down. So our first four raises, we raised 2.2 million euro for the initial phase of the project. And that was predominantly to purchase our land and legal company set up all of the structures. But we were oversubscribed by 300,000 euro. We had to say no because people kept giving us money. We're now into phase 1. Just coming to the end of phase 1 of our Series A round. So we've broken that into 4. We've just raised 3.55 million euro. And again, I've had to say no. So it all comes down to the right money, the right people, and having the quality. Now, there will be other products there. There are others. If you look at Diageo have set up, I think they've put in about 75 million euros into a new facility.
I think we mentioned that previous episode of this.
Pernod Ricard as well have come into the market. You've got Valentine's who come in with Muay Thai as well. They've set up a joint venture project. So there are bigger companies there. But one of the other things that I would say in terms of the people that we have on board, what I notice with a lot of foreign companies coming in is that, I'm going to give you a very simple example. Let's say I give you a whiskey and it's got hints of marzipan, Christmas cake, tones of Christmas, notes of Christmas cake.
Mm-hmm.
Those things don't exist in China. There is no consumer relevance between what you have, what I've just described to you, and a consumer market. But what you have big companies doing is Google translating their way into a product that exists at home, that's marketed for home, and try and just sell it without giving that consumer that connection.
I understand.
So what we have is we've taken on board Chinese and English scholars who will actually develop that relationship and develop the flavor profiles that are relevant to the areas and the towns that we're going to sell it. So
like goji berries, it has goji berries. Is that what you're saying? Yes. Yeah.
Not specifically, but what I'm saying is that if you take a whiskey that has hints of marzipan and you've got a Christmas cake that don't exist in China, what do they taste like? What tones, what notes are relevant to them, whether it be through their food, through their culture, and how do you make that connection with the consumer? And if you don't make that connection on a local level, you're lost. You're just the same other brand as everybody else on that shelf. And companies like big multinationals have marketed for the Western market and then just try and sell in China. We're not going to do that. We are marketing to the Chinese market, just like the Japanese market to the Japanese market. And because the quality is good, it gets picked up around the world and off it goes.
Yeah. See, I have a couple of friends from China. One of them who I first met, and I asked, when I first met them, I said, "Oh, where are you from?" And she told me the name of the place she was from. I said, "I didn't know it." And she says, "Oh, it's a very small city in China. There's only 8 million people there." And I was like, "Hang on, that's about the same population as London." And you know, whenever you're talking about these regionalities, it's an enormous market. But I can totally understand multinationals just Google translating, because we work with some of the PR companies and some of them are just awful. I mean, some of them are just awful.
Yeah. Now, you did mention something there about Japan, and it made me think about a show we did. We did a show about Japanese whiskey, which is illegal in Japan. Can't be sold in Japan.
It's not illegal. It's not illegal. It can't be marketed as Japanese whiskey because it uses a different distillation or fermentation.
With this massive growth, obviously, they do like demur things in the West. Will there be regulation connected with this about, you know, the
PGI sort of products, you know, is it
scientific file, that sort of thing? Yeah,
technical file and PGI status.
Yeah. So where we're at in terms of Chinese regulation, same sort of rule sets are actually in place from, you know, what China or what Scotland does, what Ireland does. The only difference is you're looking at a 2-year maturity. That's the only difference. Other than that, they don't have the Chinese Whiskey Association or a Chinese regulator that will determine rule sets for the entire market. Mm-hmm. And that's something as a company we are encouraging the government to do. So what I would say is it'll only take one bad apple to spoil it.
Yeah.
Where somebody takes advantage of maybe the lack of rules or the lack of regulation to do something, and it could kill the entire name for everybody in the business. So we want that rule set. We're encouraging the government to do that rule set, and we'll hopefully be able to engage with them and actually tell them what we're looking for. So, you know, from us as a company, we want to hold ourselves to the highest standards possible. So we are mimicking Scotland. We are mimicking Ireland in terms of the age statement, in terms of how to do everything, in terms of the rule sets. Because, look, Scotch and Irish whiskey has ruled the world and dominated the world whiskey market. Now, there's other entrances into the market at this point in time, but historically, Irish and Scotch have ruled the world in terms of whiskey. There's no better place to take your rule set and start with that.
Yeah. I think the whole Chinese project has so much potential, They have, I think the idea of barley grown in China, malted in China, you know, distilled in China, aged in different regions in China. You know, there's just so much potential there, and
there is.
In terms
of something for us in terms of visibility. It's been incredible. I think probably the busiest month, the last month, has just been incredible for us. So we're looking now at setting up cross cooperation with the cooperage. So we'll have our own cooperage essentially on site. Doing all of that. We're malting in-house. So I know a lot of companies tend to go to the UK, and there's a specific company who essentially malt for everybody and shove it on the back of a truck and send it up.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're not going to do that. We're going to be doing all in-house malting, everything done by hand by our own staff.
Wow.
So look,
you're not skimping on spending money. Let's be honest.
No, look, with a 17,200 square meter site, it's an enormous site. And we have the capacity to do it, from our fermenters to the stills themselves, the office buildings that we have, and there are full malting floors. We have three floors for malting, and we'll be able to do anything essentially that we want. We have the space to do it, so we'll take full control of that.
Where are you going to get your casks from? That is a good question, because there's a shortage of casks, isn't there?
To some extent, I would say there is, but I'd say within the Chinese market, out to and through Asia, bourbon casks at the moment are £1 a penny. You can essentially pick them up pretty much anywhere, and there isn't a huge cost on it. I think if you look overall at the European market, it's probably the biggest cost of it is actually getting stuff shipped in.
Yeah.
And obviously, look, I think when you look at China in terms of the production costs, in terms of transport costs, it will always be less. It will always be less than what Western companies will spend. The other aspect is we are looking to set up our own cooperage. So we are talking to people right now in Europe, in Ireland, France, and around Europe to actually go into a cross cooperation with us and set up a full cooperage essentially on site. So whatever we want will be available to us at the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure everything's going to be laid on for you. Another interesting thing about the distillery is where you are. I've been reading up on what you've been doing, and the feng shui.
Yeah.
The design of the distillery is important for reasons higher than anything in Ireland would be. You have the tourism aspect, you have the actual production stuff, plus then you have to take in the feng shui exit. Explain to us what that means, because.
Okay, so feng shui, I think from a Western perspective, might be, people might look at it a little bit, with a skeptical eye. But essentially, feng shui comes down to allowing the building to flow within its natural environment. So whether that be close to rivers, whether it be your predominant wind, whether it be the shape of the building. We'd initially started with peaked roofs, but we weren't allowed to use peaked roofs with feng shui because they weren't facing in the right direction. So it sounds silly, but again, I mentioned something about that connection to the local environment.
Yeah.
With regards to your advertising and what that connection between a bottle, that also is so true with your buildings and everything else that you do. And one of the things within China, it's very easy for somebody to say, "Oh, those buildings, bad feng shui," and all of a sudden your market is killed, your bottle is killed because you didn't respect the local custom, you didn't respect, and it sounds so silly, but when you're in Rome, that's essentially what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
You allow it to flow into the local custom, and we didn't have to give a huge amount up. We just had to make some concessions for what they believed the buildings should flow like. And, we're not losing capacity from it. We're not losing anything else. And we're following the local custom, and we're okay with that.
It's just, number one, it's respectful. Never mind anything else. It's respectful. Plus, it's an architectural feature, essentially. That's what you're boils down to.
Yeah, now, pretty much.
The bottles that we've been showing here tonight. Yeah. Explain those bottles and where they are, where you get them and whatnot.
So I suppose the best way to start this is if I asked both of you, if I could give you Distillery today, what are you going to sell?
Probably single malt, let's be honest.
Sure. Well, what are we looking at? Are we looking at a bourbon cask, Madeira finish, red wine? There's a lot here we could talk. And literally, I could give you as many options as you want, and you might not agree, but it would take you a long time to come to a consensus of that's the type of company that we want to be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
a few iterations envisaged.
Yeah. So essentially, when we first sat down to discuss whether we would actually do this or not, that the process happened, and we said, right, now we are actually going to do this. What type of company do we want to be? What are we going to sell? Is there a quality point? Is there a type of cask? What is it that we want? So essentially, our CEO and our chairman, CEO James Robertson, and deputy chair, which is Jeff Olnick, together collectively between the guys who set up the company, we had about 250 privately held casks. And what we did was, our chairman of our board is Stephen Davies, who is also the CEO of the Welsh Whisky Company, who sell incredible whiskey, Penderyn. So when we talked about what we wanted to do, it's fantastic. Really, really great company and incredible people to work with. Yeah. If anybody's ever in the Brecon Beacons there, take a look around. Really fantastic place. But we set out what we wanted to do. We had an idea of the types of finishes. Everybody sort of got a say in terms of, and this is the good thing about the company, you get a say in everything. You know, whether you're a designer or not, if you don't like the bottles, say so. We'll make a change. Don't like the labels, say so. We'll make a change. But it was the same with the flavor profiles. I'm a bourbon man, so the very first thing to come out is a first still bourbon cask finished in Madeira. Madeira because somebody else liked Madeira. And how do we work this? So what we did was we spoke with Stephen and his team in Penderyn, and we had our casks. They took in our casks, and we gave them what we were looking for, and they came up with our flavor profiles for us and bottled everything. So we actually manufactured everything in China. We designed everything in-house, from our bottles to the boxes, everything labeled, everything. We shipped them off to Wales. Everything was filled in Wales, and yeah, most of them are heading back towards China now in a big 9 Rivers Distillery container. So.
Excellent. The whole project is it's incredible from a guy who didn't know anything about whiskey to sort of tentative steps and discovering it in the States, to go into China, starting off with the distillery and ending up with potentially the biggest distillery, the whiskey distillery in the world. Yeah. It's an incredible tale, Stephen. It just is mind-blowing. Now, can't any of these bottles be bought in Ireland or the UK or?
So when we initially sat down, and I think you'll like this story, when we initially sat down to talk about this and work out what type of samples, we'd like to put out on the table. Everybody's going to sit down. We're going to try them. What do you like? What do you don't like? And I came to Martin and I came to Justin and I said, listen, lads, we're putting these flavor profiles forward. How many samples do you want? And what would your response be?
As many as you can get us.
Exactly. So when we actually spoke to our investors, when we spoke to the people involved in the project, it wasn't, and initially when we looked at samples, we were talking about a sample. Mm-hmm. And the first response we got was, I'll take 30 bottles. And the next response we got was, I'll take 50 bottles. So we soon realized it wasn't going to be a small thing. It actually was a thing. So why not make it a thing? And that's what essentially we did. We took a professional approach on it and released it essentially like it were our very, very first release. So what we've done is we've done a cask strength on everything, 600 bottles, limited edition on everything. And bottle number 1 went down on the website there on Saturday and sold out in 27 minutes. So it gives us a good idea that we're going in the right direction. Now, to be fair, I think it probably would have gone quicker. Our website crashed after about 4 or 5 minutes because there was a fairly significant amount of traffic. But 27 minutes all in and 600 bottles are gone. Yeah. So within Ireland, and thankfully you guys are lucky now. Justin and I had said it to Martin already, but there is a bottle going to be going up to Martin, and I'm sure he'll split it with you. Yeah. So I wasn't meant to say that. But the only bottle that will be available in the Irish market initially of bottle 1 is actually going out on the Irish Whiskey auctions. I think on their June auction, and we've given it to them to sell off for whatever charity they see fit. So it's a good way, obviously, for people to see that there's something coming out. But hopefully, and I really hope, essentially, the bottle that goes out will be the first bottle we have ever released to the public. Yeah. So it's a 1 of 600 the very first bottle.
Yeah.
So I hope, given the market now for investment whiskey and stuff like that, I'd hope that it would raise a few quid for a good cause, you know.
You would like to think so. You'd like to think so.
Let's hope.
Stephen, honestly, just talking to you and talking about the scale of everything that you're trying to do.
Everybody wants a sample. Everybody wants a sample.
Everybody wants to split it. Listen. I may decide to split it, but I'll not give him any. He's not getting it.
Fair enough. I won't get involved in that argument.
But Stephen, listen, keep us up to date with what's going on. Let us know where you are, and the fact that a guy from Dublin has moved to China and is building the biggest distillery in the world. I appreciate everything that you're trying to do. Stay in touch. Let us know how it's going. If you're looking at any investors or anything like that, do let us know.
Sure thing. Yeah, it's all on the website there. And if anybody's interested, we're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the usual stuff. NineRiversDistillery.com as well, or .cn. And you can take a look at essentially everything we do is transparent. If you want to look at, our investment portfolio down to how we set up top to bottom from the company to the buildings, it's all there.
It's all there. And honestly, go on and check it out. And there is absolutely an amazing story developing and will be just unbelievable. I honestly, I wish you every success, and I will be staying in touch with you as we go forward. Thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers to that. Thanks, guys.
Take care.